everyone. Welcome back to the CPCA Backstage Pass podcast. That's right, a podcast right here at Temple University. We are so glad that you are watching right now. We have an awesome guest on today. I'm super excited for them, and I'm super excited to just talk about everything theater, which is something I rarely get to do nowadays, but I'm so excited for this. So today's guest is actually a 2014 Temple graduate. She earned her BA in theater with a concentration in acting. Recently, she directed Top Girls for Temple's acting concentration play reading series. She's also trained in many forms of combat, including single sword, small sword, rapier and dagger, and mace and shield. We are so excited to welcome Anna Lou Hearn to the show. Anna Lou, that's what you go by. Anna Lou, how are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, Anna Lou. Never Anna, sometimes Lou, but yeah, Anna Lou.
Anna Lou,
I'm good.
We are super excited to chat with you today. As always, I would like to introduce Sarah, my co-host. Sarah, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, and I'm super excited about our awesome guest today.
I'm so happy to be here.
All right. Well, let's kick things off. Anna Lou, you were a graduate in 2014, which means it's been about roughly 7 years since you graduated. So you've been on campus since then.
Mm-hmm.
How has it changed since you graduated?
Well, yeah, that's quite a lot, actually. I was just there this past fall to investigate the prop closet for Top Girls, and like some stuff in the theater building itself is very much the same. Like the furniture in the atrium is different, but yeah, the theater building itself feels pretty much like home still. Then you walk outside and buildings are just gone. They are gone. I'm like, that's where I took all of my acting classes, and it no longer exists. None. And there is a whole dorm that's just grass now. That's gone.
Really?
And yeah. And I wasn't. Oh, I was trying to get up to the I guess what roof. They're like higher up courtyard type things of like Mitter. Is that it? Anderson.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting names. And Mitten, is that it? Mitten.
Yes.
Mitten Hall. Haha! I knew there was two T's. It's been a while. And I was like, it's all blocked off. It's like, you can't even do that. And that would be like where some of the hangs would happen, when the weather was nice. And
you used to be able to go up there?
Yeah. And, I did a photo shoot up there once. Yeah. And it's just, you can't do that anymore. But Bury Beach is still alive and well. Is that what they call it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. And so is Charles. That's the new
that's the new
library.
Yeah.
I have to say, it's pretty. I just, Sarah, you and I were talking about this when I met you in real life for the first time. The robot.
I know. The robot
There's
is
a robot to get your books. What is that? I don't understand. That was like one of my favorite parts of like, granted, Paley isn't like, very grand on the inside, but it was, you could go in and be surrounded by the smell of books and get lost in the stacks and be surrounded by plays as you're like going through looking for monologues. And, that's gone, which is a little sad. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little sad.
They have like a smaller section of the stacks on the 4th floor, but yeah, most of it's book robot, the good old book robot.
I mean, I still haven't even used Charles yet, so I don't even know what the robot even looks like. I just haven't had a need for it yet. There hasn't been any time where I've just been like, oh, I need to get a book or anything like that. But
well, I don't know, does Ed Sobel still teach theater history, or does he teach at all?
I'm not sure. I don't know if I know the name.
I know a Ed Sobel, but I don't think he's a
So
A professor.
there was an Ed Sobel when I was a professor that required if you used internet citations in your final paper, you had to there's like a whole chart that you had to fill out, and you had to get all of this extra information, and you had to specifically write an annotated bibliography for those parts. But if you used actual books, you didn't have to do any of that. And so for the group project, I made sure to only use books. And I mean, we did it on Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman. We did Death of a Salesman. And, some of the older books that talk about that play, it's just kind of so cool to see it come through the years, like how historians and theater critics, and you don't get that when you're just scrolling through internet. You just don't get the same thing. So I actually really valued being able to go into an actual library and sit in one of those little cubicles, kiosk things, and write a paper. And it seems a little old fashioned, especially now that y'all have a robot. But
I remember Paley and the no windows on certain floors, and you would just spend hours in there and forget what day it is, what time.
Yes. Yes.
Off.
Yeah, I remember that. Yep, I remember. What is it? I think it was writing a race on the stage paper, and I had just stacks of books around me, and all of a sudden I had missed 2 meals, and I didn't even realize that I had missed them. But the paper got done. So
hey, there we go.
Yeah,
that's all that matters in the end, right?
Yep. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it seems like you've had a lot of different experiences on Temple's campus. Out of all the classes that you've taken over the 4 years that you were at Temple, what was your favorite?
I knew you were going to ask this question.
Gotta ask it.
So, can I say 2?
Sure.
Of course.
Okay. Because here's the thing, is that there were 2 classes that I took twice. Because I loved them so much, and I had time in my schedule, and I wanted to just fill it. And also at that time, I don't know if this is still a policy, but you had to be a full-time student to get into main stage shows. So I made sure that I was had a pretty heavy course load the entire time I was at Temple. And so towards the end, when I had some space in my schedule, and I was like, I need some credits, and I don't want to take, just yoga or scuba diving, I don't want to do that. So I asked, can I take these 2 classes again? And my advisor was like, yeah, sure. So I took acting styles with Cheryl Williams, and I took voice with my favorite professor, Donna Snow, who's still my mentor to this day. I took them both. And honestly, when I took the voice for the second time, it really affirmed how valuable that work is. Because when I first took it, I was only, I just turned 19. And, you're still in that mentality of just, you're doing it because it's a homework, and you're doing it because your teacher told you to. And it takes, I think, a bit of time as a student artist to realize that what your professors are asking you to do are actually very useful tools for your craft and for your body. And it's not just a homework assignment, it's not just what you're supposed to do. It's just to help you. And so to take it as a freshman and then to take it in my final year at Temple was so valuable to me as an actor, as an artist. And to this day, I still utilize the Fitzmaurice method, and I highly recommend it to any fellow actor that I come across who's never heard of it. And there are a lot of great teachers out there, but Donna is my one and only. And then the acting styles is Shakespeare. I don't know. Does this class still exist?
I think we call it. I think it's acting 3 now. But yes,
that's it was separate. Those are 2
really?
different things. Yes, this is why I could take it again because, it was great. So back when I went to Temple, we were not a BFA. We were a BA, and you auditioned to get into the acting program after you had already acting concentration, after you had already taken acting 1 and acting 2. Which at that time, especially people like me who never received any real like professional training prior to college, I got some amazing foundational building blocks as an actor. You know, I had the passion, and I guess I had, you know, talent, whatever that is. But you know, I didn't know what to do, you know, and I got to take acting 1 and acting 2. And I remember Nancy Boykin, she's retired. She doesn't work there anymore. But I remember getting really frustrated, and she pulling me aside and saying how proud she was at my growth, and that she was really impressed by the work that I had done on my midterm. And, you know, if I had started where I was starting, I wouldn't have had the chance to show her how much I had grown, because I wouldn't have been given that option back then, or now versus back then. So when you had to get into acting 3, you had to audition. And it was it was much smaller department back then. There were, I don't even know, I think there was only like 1 acting 3 class, which is what, like 16 students.
Oh my gosh, only 1?
Maybe 2. Because like when I took acting 2, there was only 1 acting 2 class, and I didn't get into it the first time because it got filled up. So I didn't get into acting 3 the first time I auditioned. I remember the monologue I used, and it's actually one in my repertoire now that I feel very good about. But back then, I guess I wasn't good enough. And so when you don't get into acting 3, but you want to work on Shakespeare, they offered this class with Cheryl Williams, who is a genius with Shakespeare. Genius. I'm just going to say it one more time. Genius. Between her and Donna, is the reason that I love, and I can say this, pat myself on the back, I'm so good at Shakespeare. Because
she's quite good.
The way that she talks about it, and like the things that, like you just can't possibly know, I feel like, unless you've studied it as extensively as this woman has. Because people can be good at Shakespeare and just be generally good actors, but there's something about her and Shakespeare where it's just like oozing out of every pore of her. And I just wanted to soak it up twice. I did. So much about my craft is owing to those 2 women. And yeah, that's why I took it twice.
That's awesome. So wait, would you say Shakespeare is your favorite then?
Yeah, which is problematic these days. I
know so many more contemporary works out there.
I know. So okay, rewind. When I was at Temple, I was definitely put right away in the classical actress category. I was in Top Girls when it was Donna directed it back in 2012, and I was a 12-year-old British child. So not, super realistic. But it was contemporary, but it is Carol Churchill, so it is still very stylized. And I got a call back for Bet in Bet and Boo, which is also, very stylized. And I was called back, and I got the lead for the David Ives' The Liar, which is rhyming couplet pentameter. It's set in like 1700s Paris. Yes. And I was in quite a bit of directing scenes for Shakespeare. And Mr. Marmalade. Do you know this play? It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a crazy play. I played the 4-year-old who has the imaginary friend who is like slightly like sexual with, that's an older like 40-year-old businessman who's addicted to cocaine. Like it's a crazy play. And you know, I was in a directing project scene for that. And so it was just like very clear how I was viewed as like very stylized, heightened actor back then. And you know, it did help me develop my love for that whole thing. You know, Tennessee Williams, Arthur Miller, I put in those like very heightened, stylized. They can still be very grounded and gritty, but it is a style. The same way that very contemporary playwright Annie Baker is a style. And I just lean towards those. However, post-grad, I was able to start studying at the studio that I study at, the Freeman Studio, which actually I just came from my virtual class right before doing this interview.
Very
I'm
nice.
still doing it. And so you normally audition with one monologue. And he was like, okay, do you have anything else prepared? And I was like, okay, well, I have this and I have this. And he's like, okay, that one. And it went from like contemporary to Shaw. So I did the St. Joan next. And he's like, okay. Do you have anything else? And I was like, what? And I had just come from that summer playing Juliet. So I was just like, and I had literally just been working that monologue as an audition piece. I just didn't decide to do it because I was like, that's, you know, I just did it. But I was like, okay, I'll do it. And so I did it. And he was like, there you are. And he was like, okay, I see you. He's like, he saw me who I was as an actor. And where my comfort level was, like what my most instinctual, impulsive choices were as an actor / human being, because that's who we're deriving from in our craft. We're deriving from ourselves. And so he's like, so I'm not allowing you to do Shakespeare for the first year. He wouldn't let me do it. He did never assign me Shakespeare for months and months and months. And I understand why, because my comfort in contemporary was so not there. And it taught me to utilize all of these tools that I had been honing within classical material to work in contemporary and find the same like weight, gravity, be able to mine it for just as much like juicy, inspiring, moving things that I can connect with. And for instance, the scene that I just did for my class. Okay, so the play is called Agnes. And do you guys know this play?
It actually kind of sounds familiar. I don't
think
why.
I know this one.
I think they did it like off Broadway like a few years ago. We get a lot of plays that people were in who were in the studio that I'm and then we get like rehearsal draft copies of it. So sometimes it's like not necessarily like a super published, well-known play, but it's like, you know, it's people kind of know it. So this is one of those. And it's about two lesbians who live with this guy who matched with this woman on, I think, Tinder or something like that, and realized that they went to high school with her. Meanwhile, this girl is my character, half of the lesbian couple, is like my first love, best friend from high school, and she is a mess. And the scene that I was assigned was this scene where I have been, well, one, I'm very stressed out because the play is called Agnes because it's a hurricane, Agnes, and we're all have to like quarantine trigger. We have to quarantine in an apartment in like downtown Manhattan together. So I've got the stress of the hurricane and I got the stress of my ex-love in this apartment. And so the character has been drinking quite a lot. And we usually work on it for 2 weeks, unless it's like a really big scene. I once did the first act of The Dutchman for this class, and they did. That was a 3-week, John. But so the first week he was like, I've worked with him for 4 years now, and he was like, do you want any notes or do you want to just keep working on it? And I was like, please, Scott, please give me notes. I'm having a lot of trouble because there's this one part in the scene where, all right, so this is why I was like asking you what I'm allowed to say in this interview.
Okay.
So I won't say the actual words, but I will imply them. Okay. So she says, I need to have sex. And the problematic ex is like, well, why don't you just go wake your girlfriend up? And like, it becomes very tense, it's Zoom. So it's very hard to do that over Zoom. And then it gets to a point where it's just like, I start confessing all of these things that I'm feeling. And they are things like, I want to someone in a bathroom and all over the sink. I want to be inhumanely. I want to be until and it's like I'm having a seizure.
Wow.
I don't speak like this in real life.
What a scene.
I have zero comfort. And that's like 3 of like the 6-7 lines that I had to say that were similar to that. I had to say them like one right after the other with like maybe a little interjection like, yeah, sure, great, from the problematic ex. And so I was struggling with this. I was like, I don't know. I can't say this. This is so hard to say. And so when I was like, please give me notes. And he said, you need to relax into it because right now it's like you're doing Shakespeare, except it's like, dost thou want to get?
Oh my God.
And and you see, like, he knows me. He knows where my comfort is, but he's using my same ideology, my same training, my same love. And he's like, figure out how you're able to like chew on the language, but in that more relaxed contemporary way. And so I've been working with him for 4 years and I'm still trying to figure that out. But, this is a long-winded answer to say, yes, this is, I'm very comfortable with Shakespeare, but I am trying to get more comfortable with more contemporary. And I'm really eager to see what this new world of theater that's going to come out of everything that we've experienced in the last year. Because I think it's really going to be really juicy. And I'm just very excited.
For sure, yeah. It sounds like you got a lot going on, and it sounds like you're being very, very active still, which is awesome, especially with everything going on. I'm curious, though, how did you actually find like the studio that you work at currently?
So Donna, the most wonderful woman on the planet, she recommended me for this internship, and the woman that I worked for was like, this is before I moved to New York. Are you interested in moving to New York? Because if you are, like, you can talk to my agent and he can tell you like what's the best way to like prep for the industry coming up here. So I did. I talked to, what was his name? Alex Butler of Henderson and Hogan. And he was like, okay, you want to move up here? Great. Get in a scene study class. And he was like, he gave me a name, which was Bob Krakauer, he's an insanely genius person who's actually friends with the guy who runs my studio. And so that's like kind of like a joint effort there, but he does mostly camera work. Bob Krakauer is a very distinguished teacher, coach. I think he directs too. And camera, how to act for camera. And he went to ACT with the person that runs my studio, which his name is Scott Freeman. So I was given two names. I was given Bob Krakauer to get into his class, was like a 4-month wait list, something like that.
Wow.
It was crazy. And then the other one was Scott Freeman of the Freeman Studio. And you have to audition. And you can, he only allows, well, back then when it was real life, it was like 10, 12, something like that per class. And so you would have like 3 scenes, a break, 3 scenes. And you'd be there for 4 hours, once a week. And then you're expected, to rehearse the same way that you guys do in school. You're expected to organize your own rehearsal schedule with your scene partner. And then because it's New York, there's so much studio space. So if you don't want to meet a perfect stranger that you've been scene assigned with, you go and you split a studio in downtown, and you just rehearse, and it's super cool. And yeah, it really just it changed the game. Temple gives you the tools, and then you get to it's like going to the gym and honing it and getting like a personal trainer. You already know how to lift a dumbbell, okay? And you might even know like the correct way to lift the dumbbell. But he figures out what's your personal best way to lift the dumbbell. And it's just, yeah, I could sing songs if it's and praise it all day long.
That sounds amazing. It sounds like, it obviously sounds like a process to get into it, but acting usually is like 9 times out of 10, it doesn't come easy, usually, from what I've heard from either actors or other students that I've run into. It seems a lot, it's a lot, and you got to work for it. And that's exactly what, you're painting it to be, which is, I'm happy to hear that, because it's like, all right, like everyone needs to hear that is an actor,
Yeah. It's like, you read it in some industry books. I remember reading in an industry book, like back when I was like just graduated or something, like, if you're not in a show, you should be in a class. But it's important to find the right studio. And, there are a few in the city, but the Freeman Studio is probably like, if you say you study at the Freeman Studio, people know what you're talking about. They just know.
Yeah, that sounds about right. From how you've described it, yeah, I could understand that for sure.
It's so funny. I see like, oh my gosh, I just worked with her last week, and now she's a guest star on that TV show. It's like, that's funny. You're just literally watching Billions, and Paul Giamatti's assistant is Kira, who I saw last month in the studio.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it's just crazy. It's like, I'm there mostly for theater, so I get like a little bit different like out of it than people who are really, chasing the camera game. But it does make me feel more confident that if I decided to change my direction, that I could do it, because we're all working the same muscles. It's just how to get there faster, basically. Film and TV is really, you gotta be able to look at a script. You got to be able to see what the scene calls for and get there. And that's it. I know Sarah and I talked about some of it's your job to do this part of the scene in Top Girls. Like, this is what the scene requires of you. But when you're a student, it's like it takes people to teach you how to see the way those moments work. And then the studio is just a more intense version of practicing. Okay, I did that in 2 weeks. Can I do it in 1 week? And I actually, before pre-pandemic, before COVID.
Hey, that's pretty good.
I don't know if I can take credit for that. I've been saying that for a year now, and I think I got it from social media. But it is beastie for sure. And I remember because again, I've been studying with Scott for 4 years. I would get a scene and I'd look at it and I'd say to my scene partner, I was like, we're doing a one-off. We're only going to need a week. I can guarantee it. Like, if we do this, when we get it, like, it's a one-off. And it's like kind of like a point of pride where I look at a scene and I'm like, this is going to be a one-off. I got it. Because that's the job, but it's also the joy, right? It's the joy to be able to look at a scene and be like, I got it.
Of course. Yeah. That's awesome. Wow. I'm learning so much tonight. For being a non-acting student, I'm enthralled.
I mean, you were a theater kid though, so you know some things.
Okay, look, I was a theater kid in like high school. Yeah, but like, how credible is that? That's where I like to draw the line.
I mean, you'd be surprised how many people who were theater kids and then didn't do it, and then somehow are brought back to theater. I mean, look at you right now. You're running this podcast. It's about theater.
Get out of here. No, that's true. Yeah, no, funny how things I mean, I've always even talked about, like, maybe one day I'll do, like, local theater again, just for fun, but...
Take a class! What have I just been saying for what?
There are lots of gen ed acting classes. We always promote them in our orientation, so go for it, Ben.
Yeah. Take a class, really. Take a class with Donna. I don't know if you take her voice class, you get to work on Shakespeare, I think, and figure out that whole situation, if that interests you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. I'm curious, though, out of all the shows that you've done, which of the shows at Temple was your favorite?
Gosh, why the questions? I knew they were coming, and I really should have prepared better for this.
Just gotta pinpoint them and gotta, nail it down.
It's so hard because all three were so different. And then I did student projects too for, and then Mockingbird produced a little show one year that I was in, and they were all so different. Oh, God. I mean, so if we talk about the dream of like what it's like to be in a show, right? It's everyone loves each other and vibes, not just in real life, but on stage. Like, the energy exchange is just fire. And the director, you and he or she speak the same language. And you get really excited about your costumes. And then, this is a little like I don't want to call it shallow, but this is part of the package of being an actor, is that when you come off stage, people are like, oh my God, I loved that show. You did such a good job.
I love when people do that. That's the best.
Yeah. And it's not the reason you do it, but man, it makes you feel good if you thought you did a really good job.
It's a little cherry on top.
Oh yeah, easily.
Here's all of the wonderfulness, and thank you.
And for that, The Liar was like all of those. I think, Top Girls, I loved everyone. And Donna and I are like, obviously like this. And And for Odd Girl Out, I was Doug Wager's research assistant for that play, as well as an actor in it. So I was involved from during the whole gestation process, the conception and the gestation. And it was very cool to be a part of that. And then I did the 448 psychosis, which was talk about saying things that are very shocking. That was really cool because I was all student produced, and same with Julius Caesar. That was all student produced. And you just feel very proud to have done that. But The Liar, I can't think of one really bad memory associated. I mean, maybe one. It's like that moment where you're you've done all that you possibly can on this character, and you're in runs, and you're I'm hitting this one block. And I remember being in lower lobby, and Diane Gary was sitting on the couch, and Brandon McShaffrey and was over here, and I'm just I can't. I'm having a block. And I can't remember what they said to me, but it was definitely there was something about having that breakdown got me the breakthrough, because I was able to say, no, I'm not going to say the real word, F it. And that's what it took. It took the trust that I did everything that I possibly could to get what needed to get done. And that's literally the only most stressful moment that I remember being associated with that play. There's this one scene in The Liar where it's through a gate, and it's again rhyming couplet pentameter, so it flies and it's musical. And I think it was the last performance, so we are just humming at this point, it's just going. And who I've been playing across was somebody, we used to jokingly call ourselves the Ryan and Sharpay, because we would constantly get put at projects together. We wouldn't even know. We would show up to a student film and we would both be there. And so he was in it, and we were just back, bum, 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 bum. And there's the last line where it's a fight. And there's this last line where I'm just you dog, you beast, you cad, you son of a bitch, and then walk off stage. And I don't know, there's this quote from Anne Hathaway when she auditioned for Les Mis. She's sometimes you walk away from an audition where you the door is a little open, you left it crack a little bit. And she's but for Les Mis, I slammed that door shut. And that's how I felt about the end of that scene. I was because I was present, I was there, I felt personally insulted, viscerally. I wasn't just saying the lines in a very emotional way. I remember the lighting. I remember the fur trimmed coat I was wearing when I said it. The costumes. Seriously, all parts of that show, man. So good.
Love it. Oh, I miss the costumes and the lighting. Oh, it's not the same when it's just my kitchen lighting.
You should see the lighting setup I have right now. I'm not actually going to show you because.
Oh my gosh. So tonight I've learned that you're pretty big into Shakespeare. So I got to know, because Shakespeare is a pretty tough thing to just grasp. Any Shakespeare show or play, whatever it might be, it's just a very tough thing to grasp. Are there any tidbits that you might be able to give to students that want to know a little bit more about Shakespeare and how to accomplish maybe I don't know, a monologue of some sort that, might be a little on the tougher side?
Yeah, and I'm going to do a quick plug here. I coach Shakespeare,
yes,
so we're all clear. So if you're watching this and you want some Shakespeare coaching, I'm your girl. And I'll talk about some of this stuff.
We'll put your email here.
Somewhere.
Somewhere.
Yeah. So some of the stuff that I'll share now is stuff that I teach. But actually, Sarah, I taught you the text analysis. And actually Donna is the one who taught it to me. So if you take her class, you'll learn it. but you use it for, I use it for everything, contemporary or Shakespeare, but it's the very first step. You get assigned a Shakespeare monologue. You take, here, I'll get this notebook. Ooh, wait a minute. Pardon. I'm going to get my scene study notebook.
She'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen.
It's going to be like 5
now
seconds.
Commercial. Do.
We don't have that kind of budget.
Oh, man.
Oh, no.
One day.
Oh, you kidding me? Maybe did I put it away? Oh, I know where I put it.
She knows where it is. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. I'm back. So, all right. So this is a good example. This is a little messy because, it's only for my personal use, but do I have Shakespeare in here? No, but this will work. That's kind of clear. Okay, so this is, People, Places, and Things was the scene I worked on in class. So you take the script page on one side, and you take the lines, only your lines, and you leave, double space it. You got, a lined paper. And you take out all of the commas, and you take out, exclamation points, really, I think, and semicolons, too. Anything that's going to inform your acting, like any punctuation that might say, oh, I need to take a breath here, or I need to stop here, or I need to make this some kind of emotional thing. Just take it out, because that's not the part we're working on yet. And then you take, let me see if I can find one that's clearer. Then you take the adverbs and adjectives, and you put those in brackets that are squiggly line with a squiggly line underneath, or nouns and then you put a solid line underneath. And you only do that to the ones that I like to say, call to you, speak to you. Because you can say, oh, yes, this is the operative word. But, you also want it to be true to yourself. So if it's, what's a good one? And I insist on the exceptional. All right. So, it's that's really obvious. What's the most interesting words in that sentence?
She's asking you.
Oh, she's asking me? The word assist. That
insist.
was the one word.
Mm-hmm.
Insist. I'm sorry. Yeah, insist.
Yeah.
That was the one that kind of.
And if there has to be two, and I insist on the exceptional.
Exceptional.
Right. Fluffy, pretty. We get it. Chew on it. Right. Oh, and I also forgot another step is liaisons.
We love liaisons.
Oh my God. You say Shakespeare with liaisons, and it's like you sound like a human being. It's when a consonant sound goes into a vowel sound. So for and I insist on the exceptional, there's and I, and then the I, actually you create a Y sound when you say it, I. And so that actually goes into insist. So and I insist, and then on. So I insist on. So if you think about it, it's just one word. It's not and I insist on. It's and I insist on. And if you already know that you're stressing insist, it's super clear. So, oh gosh, do I have any Shakespeare in here? I feel like that would be, you asked about Shakespeare. So
of course.
This is an old, I just filled this up, but I don't think I actually worked on Shakespeare this past.
I'm getting a free lesson right now. This is incredible.
I know. Yeah, it's awesome.
Hold on. I can do it on the fly because I'm that good. Give me one.
Oh, let's
second.
go.
She can.
I'm so gracious right now of everything that is going on.
Okay. Ooh. All right. Let's do So I did do actually Measure for Measure. I worked on, this is what's great. I also love gender bend Shakespeare. And so I was assigned Claudio.
Yes, I love Claudio and Measure for Measure.
Yeah. And and she became Claudia. But yeah, so I just worked on actually the Claudio and Isabella scene, which is on, there it is. All right. And so there's this beautiful monologue, all right, that Claudio does at the end to try and convince her to sacrifice her virginity to save him from getting killed, put to death for his premature before marriage liaisons with a certain individual. So the line is, let's see. Oh, good. Okay. To lie in cold obstruction and to rot. Okay. So looking at it right now, you see lie in, cold obstruction, and that's it. And so if you think about it, to lie in cold obstruction and to rot, right off the bat, what's words that call to you?
Lie, obstruction, and was the last word rot?
Rot.
Yeah,
yes.
that one stood out.
Yes. Okay, so if you can only pick two.
Lie and rot. I don't know. That for
okay.
me.
Yeah, no. There's no wrong answer.
Oh, okay, cool. I'm afraid
because
I'm gonna fail.
because this is another thing. So this is another trick. One of the things that Sarah knows this. It's to lie in cold what? To lie in cold what?
What was the word?
Obstruction.
Okay, yeah, I was right. Okay,
yeah.
Obstruction.
Yeah. To lie in cold what? If you can say cold, but it has to be cold obstruction. Like that's the whole juicy image. And so if we know we have no commas, so we don't stop breathing. All right, in Shakespeare. And we do all of the liaisons and we find the juiciest words, and usually it's two, sometimes three if it's like cold obstruction. And then you just go. So bear with me. I'm just going to do the first few.
Yeah,
lines.
for sure.
Okay. So it's like, Claudio says, death is a fearful thing. And Isabella says, and shamed life a hateful. And then Claudio responds, aye, but to die and go we know not where, to lie in cold obstruction and to rot, this sensible warm motion to become a kneaded clod, and the delighted spirit to bathe in fiery floods, or to reside in thrilling region of thick-ribbed ice, to be imprisoned in the viewless winds and blown with restless violence round about the pendant world. 'Tis too horrible. Did you hear? Like, I didn't stop. Like, I stopped, but I didn't stop. And I hit certain words that you knew exactly what I was saying. You know, you can be so comfortable with contemporary language and think that it's just so, it's poetry. Yeah, it's pretty. You don't need to make it sound pretty. It's already pretty. So you just find the most human in that you possibly can, and your own personal human in, what you might find. Like, I got really excited when I was working on that monologue by the word delighted. Another Cheryl Williams trick is look up every single word. Every single word. You can't possibly, you can kind of know, but then the audience is going to kind of not understand. Because you need to just know. And yes, I knew what the word delighted was, but I was just like, I'm just going to look it up because I was like, I just want to know what this whole image is. And what many annotations and I have lexicons too said was like the ability to be delighted. It wasn't just that the spirit was delighted, it's that your spirit could be delighted. And if someone is afraid of death, and the delighted spirit to bathe in fiery floods. Like, you get it. You know what fiery floods are, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so you have that lovely contrast. And what does it do to you, like inside of you? And this is purely technical. You know, I just literally looked up the definition of a word. And it made Shakespeare sound human and better and easier to understand.
Jesus.
She's amazing. She's amazing.
I was just completely enthralled with every single word that you just said, that I'm just like, wow. I'm going to go pick up a book at the Charles Library now.
You can't. It's only robots.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you're right. Wow. Okay, that's interesting. Man, I'm now thinking back to when I had to read it in high school.
Ben's about to audition for the next Shakespeare show we do. Watch out, world.
Yeah, watch out. I'm gonna be the next.
Watch out.
Hey, I will coach you.
I'll be the next Romeo. Very cool. Wow, that's awesome. That sounds like a lot of fun. There you go. Anyone listening and looking to work up Shakespeare or just acting in general, hit her up. She's got it going on right now. She absolutely knows exactly what she's doing. I'm super impressed. Oh my God.
I've been doing it for, how many years now? I'm going to be 30. So, my mother's an English professor. Well, she was. She teaches writing, business writing, and creative writing. Maybe she only teaches business writing now, but she has her MFA in creative writing. And, I remember one of the first films I ever watched when I was very little was Much Ado About Nothing, with Kenneth Branagh and Emma Thompson. And I'm blanking on names. Bunch of famous people. And I loved it. I was like 5 years old, and I understood what was happening to a degree, but I just loved it. And same with Italian director who did Romeo and Juliet in the 60s, where the Romeo looks kind of like Zac Efron.
Yes, I know exactly the one. Yes.
I can't remember.
I forget his name as well, but we
Something
love him.
Francatelli. No, that's a character in a play. Oh God, that's shameful. I don't know that. But I watched that growing up. I remember being in my high school English classes. Like, I was like always the actor girl. I was voted most theatrical for my senior superlative. And my English teacher for both my sophomore and my senior year, it was the same one. He knew, and so he would always ask me to read the Shakespeare part when we would have to read Julius Caesar. I think it was McBoo-Boo. I think that's what we did my senior year. And I would read. But yeah, Shakespeare is, and then I met Donna and Gerald, and it changed the game. Like, it was something that I already loved and I truly enjoyed. And the sigh no more, ladies, sigh no more. Men were deceivers ever, 1 foot in sea and 1 on shore, to one thing constant never. That thing that they say in Much Ado About Nothing. I went on a tour for the Apollo Theater when I was in high school for a New York trip. And you could stand on the stage and do something. I'm not musical theater. And I did tap a little bit for the musicals in high school, I'm a singer-ish. I'm a Shakespeare singer, is basically. I'll sing for Shakespeare, and I can do it. I'm not I'm trying to think of a famous musical theater actress, and I just can't do it. That's a good point right there. So I said that I must have been 15, 16 years old. So I stood on the Apollo Theater and I rubbed the stump that Billie Holiday rubbed, and I did Shakespeare.
Wow, that is awesome.
That's amazing. We love that.
I'm taking all this information. I'm going to put it to a Zoom performance of like Romeo and Juliet. Watch me. I'm going to be out there on a Zoom performance.
My roommate is, this is another plug for him, is directing Henry. Ooh, gosh, I don't know which Henry he's directing. I think it's Henry the Fourth.
Okay.
Part 1 over Zoom. Calvin Atkinson. There's like credits. You want to like add that in there. I think they're just starting rehearsals. I don't think it's going to go up for like another month or two, but he did Julius Caesar for Temple last semester.
Wow.
And it was awesome.
Yeah.
Great
so
show.
Shakespeare over Zoom is a real thing. You can do it. I mean, Temple's doing it this year, so.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a great transition to actually my next question. What advice do you have to students or just any actor that's doing it on Zoom right now? Because you guys, both you and Sarah, have been both talking about how difficult it can be for certain scenes. Like Sarah was talking about she has to play soccer, right? Or something like that. And then
that's coming soon.
That's more like, that's like shot stuff, right? Like the believability of running.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Soccer,
a lot like technical, filmy stuff.
I mean, that's a task that an actor will, like the job, as we were talking about earlier. The job is that you have to run and kick the goal. Yes, within the frame because it's Zoom. But one thing that I had been studying acting over Zoom with the studio when everything got shut down. Within a month, my studio started doing virtual classes. And so that was April. And then I did that for several months, and then Donna was like, I'd like you to direct Top Girls. And I was like, okay. and within a couple months of doing that, I found out that several students would like some Shakespeare coaching for As You Like It auditions. And I just, I love Shakespeare, and I was like, yes, absolutely. I would love to coach you guys. And I'd never done it over Zoom before. So there were some things that I had to let go of. Like there's a lot of like Laban stuff that I usually work with, which is another Donna thing that I learned. When they're working with text analysis and like chewing on like operative words, which you can't really do over Zoom. One thing throughout all of both my personal experience of acting and watching and coaching is to forget about it being a camera. It cannot be a camera. It has to be a window into another person. And I remember Donna had asked me to come speak to her Acting 2 class right at the beginning of that semester because I had been doing this over Zoom for a while. And I said to them, and when you're having a conversation over FaceTime or Zoom, are you producing yourself? I mean, you could, I guess, but then you're not actually in it. So if you think like when you're actually having a FaceTime conversation, like the adults, we would all do, Zoom happy hours, and you wouldn't be thinking like you were dealing with a computer once you got into it, right? You would just be dealing with the people. And that's the job of the actors, to be present and deal with the person in front of you. So this aspect of producing, I needed to get out of everyone's heads, whether they knew they were doing it or not, and to just be so present with the other person. And if you need to remember what it's like to FaceTime with your best friend or your mom and hold on to that feeling and just warm it up inside of you and then re-engage, then do that. Because this is new. We're figuring out a brand new way of approaching acting right now. And it's class, right? It's not a performance. And then when I was studying Top Girls, I was like, we're recording it, so we can edit it. So it's really, I just want you. I just want you. That's it. Now this next show that I think I'm pretty sure I'm directing it. I just have to finalize some of the cast list for Temple. There's a lot. It's a modernized version of Chekhov's Uncle Vanya, and there's going to be some like age discrepancies that we're going to have to work on to get that weightiness of being able to be truthful. Because there's just people who haven't lived quite as long as other people or haven't experienced quite as much as other people. There's a lightness to them. So I find that's like going to be one of the most fun things for us to discover as an ensemble for these older characters, like find that gravity. And honestly, it's far easier to do that in such an intimate space, because it's just literally me and you. And yeah. Do everything. Another tip is do everything that you would do to prepare if the scene was in real life. So text analysis, and if you need to like really warm yourself up physically, do it. If you need to really, really warm yourself vocally up, do it. And I mean, there's one thing about like scenes is that you have somebody to be accountable to make sure that you're practicing, rehearsing, because no, it's not. You're not just disappointing yourself. You're gonna disappoint your scene partner if you're not doing the work, and you're gonna disappoint your teacher if you're not doing the work. And so that's really helpful to know that you're not alone with scenes. Monologues are really hard. I find to do over Zoom. With the Claudio one was easy because I was doing it to a person in the scene. But I've definitely a couple times when we're like a student short in the studio, actually the same playwright of the Uncle Vanya adaptation I'm directing, he did Stupid Effing Bird.
Such a good show.
And I did the Sash monologue for class one time. And it was so good, like to just sit and be present. And I think you could probably do the same thing over Zoom for that. But a lot of monologues, like Shakespeare, like my roommate, he wants his actors to stand. And so to stand in front of a computer or an iPhone or something, it definitely puts you out of it, I think, a little bit. So what I suggested this to all the Top Girls people, even though most of them were sitting. I think what Anna and Umbi maybe didn't for office scenes. I think they were standing, but most people were sitting. We talked about the world and what we can actually use in the space that you are provided with to build it as truthfully for you as possible. So for Sarah, well, you talked about this in the interview I did around Top Girl's opening. She was in a kitchen in her scene, and brilliantly, she had a kitchen in the area that she was rehearsing and could record in. And I was like, oh my God, this is brilliant. We're going to use it. And I'm speaking for you, but I'm sure it helped you to be present, to be dealing in the way that you're supposed to be dealing in space and time. And to have like the right props. I did a Desdemona scene for a scene study class early on, actually, when like everything was like pretty shut down, like right out the gate, and everything was really new. And the Desdemona scene that is usually assigned, and you'll see it like in Acting 3 class quite a lot, is the sitting at the vanity, getting ready, singing the song, and Amelia's big monologue at the end. Not big, but very, significant, well-known monologue. And I put the computer up and on this like big tall thing of books, and I made it so that it would look down on me a little bit, like not too drastically. And then I put all of like makeup and creams and things all around my computer book tower thing. And so when I'm dealing with the other actor on my computer, it's like I'm looking at the mirror, looking at the actor through a mirror. You know how you would if you talk to somebody who's behind you, you'd both be looking in the mirror, talking to each other. So it's like world building.
Huh. That's oddly like really smart, but something that feels like would just like, oh yeah, duh. Like, of course you do that, but not anyone would think of.
Well, it's new, you're like, there's a joke about the acting one exercise of like bringing your whole room to class.
Oh, yes.
For this one Uta Hagen exercise. And we all would, we joke about it and we complain about it, but that's what it's teaching you. It's like
so helpful. It's just, it's so informative. It's just, it's magic.
And I mean, I remember I was looking for a hairbrush was the exercise, is the thing that I couldn't find. And what was my point in this? And and so then yes, I could have brought in a few things and hidden it. But it's not just about looking for the hairbrush, right? The idea of the exercise is that something happened right before you enter the room, and it influences how you look for the hairbrush. And so not only are you dealing with what's immediately in front of you that you need to accomplish, but everything that's already inside of you, which is what acting is. And if you have a vague inclination of what room you're supposed to be dealing with this all in, like, I don't know, I can't even remember what I picked for my given circumstance. Oh, I do. I can't talk about it here.
That seems like an off-camp. It sounds like an off-camera.
It's very embarrassing. It's probably made me a little famous, especially among my friends who like were in that class. But like it's not like crazy. Anyways, we're getting off topic. So if I hadn't built the scene as specifically as I had done it, how can you get lost and just be present? Because like you can get easily taken out just by simply looking at a bed that doesn't have a sheet and a blanket on it, your sheet and your blanket. Or like, in the professional world, it's not your sheet and your blanket. So you need to do the work to endow it, So let's see. What's something I can use? Ooh, there's a blanket right here. All right. So this blanket is actually one of my favorite props to use for scene study because it gives me something to fiddle with and react with, like, and it really grounds you. And so, yes, I could do the scene without the blanket, but it helps. It really, really helps to like, you look like in professional theater, it's not your blanket, but if you really work at it, it is your blanket, right? I don't know. I'm on a tangent now.
No, that's super. Yeah.
No, I love it.
Though. Yeah. It's
so important and it's so fun, especially for Zoom. Like I found that like props just like help me so much just because like just being in a scene as it is, it's always like, oh God, what do I do with like my hands and everything while I'm not speaking?
Yeah.
But like being on Zoom and being like, I'm looking at my computer, what the heck am I supposed to be doing right now? Like having my water bottle, being like, oh yeah, like reacting to the other people. Yeah. It's so helpful.
What did I say to everyone during Talk Girls? I was just like, what are you doing? What is the activity? Give yourself an activity, any activity. I mean, for the dinner party, it was really easy because everyone's eating and drinking, right? And in fact, that was the activity that I chose for my scene for my class that I just came from, is that, I mean, it's built into it that she has been drinking. So even though the script doesn't say that I take a swig here or I'm carrying around a beer bottle, like that's the activity. And holding the beer bottle and taking the swig, that ignites something in your imagination. So if you are feeling a little loosey-goosey, how does that affect the way that you move and communicate? It's like, I don't even know what I did with that prop, but it's gesturing with the beer bottle. It's like that confidence. I hate it. That was one of the lines. So it's yeah, props activity, props activity.
They help a lot.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I think I have one more question for you, and I gotta know, why is theater so important to civic duty?
Oh, this is from my okay,
this is Anna Lou's favorite.
Okay, well, gosh, so this is a thing that's been a part of Temple for a while, the citizen artist, right? And I don't know if they do this anymore, but when I was there, they would like award one student like a citizen artist award. And my year was one of my dear friends, Sarah, who she like volunteered for this youth organization. And was like, and she was bilingual in Spanish. And it was just, it seemed so effortless to like her very existence as an artist in this world, that she was just giving back. And I was like, I always felt like I was the kind of person who needed to do something. And I just couldn't figure out how to do that felt authentic to me, and not just because like I was trying to do it because I was supposed to do it or whatever. And as I said earlier, I'm a very classical person, so I felt like I said problematic, and it is a little problematic these days because it's very, white Eurocentric, and it's, I definitely felt very pigeonholed by what I had created, what I thought was this, like how I thought art was for me in my own journey. And I wanted to, I just didn't know how. And then Trump was elected. I know I'm not allowed to say curse words, but I'm going to say it. And I almost was like, do I stop being in theater? Because I need to do something. I need to do something. And at the time, I was actually in a play with the Idiopathic Radiculopathy Consortium, IRC. It's a absurdist theater company in Philly. I did a few shows with them. They're very cool. And the day after, we had a rehearsal. And there was a transformation of the character I was playing within the play of like, she wanted to save the world and wasn't very grounded, and but she had very noble pursuits. And at the end of the play, she kind of gets a reality check, and I never could get my head wrapped around that ending. And then, a year or two happens, and yeah, I think it was like a year and a half, and I moved to New York. And you get sucked into what the industry tells you should be doing. Like if you move to New York, you need to be constantly applying to auditions, and you need to, get a job with flexible schedule, and then you have to know your type, know what your type is and be confident and go after that. And I did do that. It took a year for me to kind of like warm up to being here and having a job. I was like waking up with a crack when I first got here for a barista position. Don't recommend that being your first job when you move to New York, because I didn't audition. It was just I couldn't. I was so tired all of the time. And so then once I really kind of decided after like the first year, I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I instantly booked something. It was like a little regional thing that I did. Actually, Hurricane Florence happened. And so it actually got canceled. Like we got marooned in this town in North Carolina, and the National Guard had to like bring in supplies. And I was like, it didn't happen. And so like the first thing that I decide, like I do all of the things that I'm supposed to do, and the show didn't even happen because of a hurricane. And so I come back to New York and I'm like, I'm never leaving the city ever again. And my friend produced Troilus and Cressida, and he directed it. And he was like, so I was a verse nurse and flight captain, and I was Ulysses and Cassandra for that production. And he likes to call it the, scrappy kind of indie theater. It's like not super high budget. It's, and it's not a long run, but it's very ensemble oriented, and everyone really believes in the project. And he did it all himself. And was it like the industry standard? I don't know, but he believed in the project and he made it happen. And it was my first New York credit. And what does that mean, to the industry to have a first New York credit? Like, did that change my life? No, it didn't change my life. I still had to do all of the same things. And so within the next year, I was able to, I was finally at a job, like a day job that I actually liked. And I was really struggling with this idea of like what I'm supposed to do to be successful. Like what am I supposed to do? Like, what if that's not what I want? What if that doesn't make me happy? And then Calvin decides to direct somebody else's Shakespeare show. And so I'm like, okay, I'll do Shakespeare again. And like, I love Shakespeare, but like, I want to do more than Shakespeare. I want to do something that's meaningful. And it's like this whole idea of Shakespeare and aesthetic and what my resume looks like. I just got so wrapped up in it that I think I really kind of, it was kind of, I don't know, a wake-up call almost to get this pandemic happen thing. And when the protests happened, and I always play deeply felt, intense characters because I'm a deeply feeling, intense person. And I remember Donna said to me, I think over the summer when we were talking, art is the only thing that's going to make people care about each other again. And I was like, that is something I can get behind. I'm not doing it because I think I should, because, I studied all of this time, so I should be doing it. I'm not going to chase the game the way that, people are like, oh, go on X amount of EPAs a year. I'm not going to do that because I want to be happy, and I want to help people, and I want to inspire people. And I think the best way to do that is to first and foremost, like, bring yourself happiness by doing what you're doing. And then by bringing yourself happiness, I think if you're chasing something noble, it's going to help people. And then I think circling back to where I started, this idea of the citizen artist and what Temple teaches you and he uses terms like highly informed and moral, and I think we all, as a human population, could decide to be those people. I mean, more people are doing that anyway, and I think theater not only do we want artists who make theater to be those people, but I think we need theater and camera work as well to do the same thing. And when I say theater as a civic duty, it's a theory, idea, concept I've been rolling around since August. When I really truly decided, I was just like, why do we do art? Why? And if you remember, Sarah, I watched, or were you in, I think I talked about maybe when you were there, the Under the Greenwood Tree documentary. So the public that does Shakespeare in the Park does this project, Public Works, and they did a documentary about it where they take people from various parts, real people from various parts of the community all year round, like community centers, youth centers, domestic workers union, all over from all boroughs. And they teach them Shakespeare and singing and dancing. And then they do this production in the summertime, a Shakespeare production that's kind of usually adapted to, they did As You Like It, but they didn't do all As You Like It. There was like brand new music written for that show and performed by real people. And people who could see themselves in that show. And not only were the people who worked on the show emotionally invested in telling this story, the audience gets emotionally invested in the story because they're identifying with the people on stage. And it's such a, it doesn't have quite a good as a frame for me to speak about it too intensely, because I'm still working on it, because it's something I want to think about as I'm applying to grad school, hopefully this year, for next year, if COVID allows. But the arts teach people empathy. And I struggled for, 4 or 5 years to really, get down to the root of what it is to actually be an artist, and not just checking boxes. Anyways, I know this is a very long-winded, roundabout way, but you asked me, theater as a civic duty. I think watching it, making it, telling people about it, government funding it, please and thank you. Getting stories to people who might not get them. Part of me thinks that half of these crazy people in the world right now, well, in the States, I'm thinking about the States in my head, when I'm thinking about this concept. Course. We don't have government funded education. We don't have government funded arts. If you go to older countries, they do. And that means that the arts are appreciated and that the humanities themselves are appreciated. And people have access to the arts and people have access to the humanities. And the humanities teach a narrative imagination where you're able to see somebody else's story and put yourself in their shoes and empathize. And just based on knowledge, just literally you learn about ancient Egypt and you can use your imagination to understand what it was like to live at that time. Or something like in terms of a social justice issue. If you learn about what it was like to, so speaking from my own life experience, what it was like to not be able to learn, to not be able to go to college because you were a woman or because of where you come from, your class. I am very privileged. I was able to go to college. I was able to learn and have access to things. There are people, and we know them, they're called the 1%, that have this privilege and they don't have the empathy, because if they did, things would be different. That's a theory, obviously. I'm not saying it's fact, but my goal is to somehow get into some kind of room, 25 years down the road, after, getting an MFA, PhD, getting a group of like-minded individuals together to, whether it's legislation or education, to say, like, this is why we need the arts. This is why we need theater. This is why we can't constantly think that entertainment is art, because right now entertainment tends to lean more towards the wallet than the soul. So I'm also very, am I allowed to say this? I'm an anti-capitalist. So,
it's funny that you say that. So am I.
Sarah knows this about me. I've gone on many a tangent during Top Girls rehearsals. I just think that when money is thought of more importantly, the UK, which has a great education system, is not a socialist country. We all know this because of Brexit. Okay, my idea is just blooming. But I think, it really ties into that whole citizen artistry thing that Temple really promotes, of, all the qualities that say make up an artist and what they're trying to teach you. We can teach humanity as well.
Damn.
Anyways.
That was a damn good, wow.
Was it? I felt like it was a little, had some holes in there.
No, not really. Wow.
I know, this was our whole process with Top Girls. We would always get into this and I'd be like, yes, Anna Lou, give it to us. Yes.
I just want people to care about each other and know that we're different and we have different life experiences. And that is going to change how somebody else experiences the world, and say, I hear you, but still be able to empathize with that person,
For sure.
And fight for them and advocate for them. I don't want to, erase and be like, let's all just be friends and be lovely. No. Let's be individuals that care about each other. Ooh, there's this one activist, author, Sonia Renee. Oh God, hold on. Did I write it down? Sonia Renee Taylor. She says the most wonderful things about caring about people. What's one? Maybe this isn't I wrote notes from a video that because I was so moved by what she was saying. But God, she talks about communities and caring about each other, and it was about this was pre-Capitol attack. It was about defund police, And she was saying like how to the spirit of the thing, right? The spirit of the police is to have people feel safe and protected. And we like that. That's the spirit of the thing. The form of the thing is the systemic institution of what currently is a police force. So can we have the spirit of the thing and let go of the form of the thing? Because this means caring about people, and this does not mean caring about people. I'm paraphrasing it, but because this was like a month ago that I watched this video, but yeah. Oh, I mean, like, talk about like this is like art as a civic duty. Like the way that she spreads her message is she is truthful, she is present, she writes like I bet you I don't know if she writes what's it like narrative or like poetry or anything like that, but when she speaks you just instantly are there. And that's this talk about spirit. That's the spirit that we want when somebody decides to be an artist, and decides to step on stage and decides to be on camera, is that we want to feel like we're being advocated for. Not trying to, put another credit on a resume or, make a lot of money. Making a lot of money can be a bonus, Yeah, I would love to have a second house in the Adirondacks at some point in my life. That would be great, but I'd rather do the thing that's, I feel like I'm on a tangent again. Duh, I shouldn't have put that on the Google Doc form. I was like, I go too much in roundabout circles.
You need your own podcast. Why are you a guest on ours when you could have you literally are full of like just wisdom
this
and knowledge?
So true.
Like, get your own podcast going.
I'm just a sponge, really. We all are what we learn and what we take in, right? The best actor is someone who actually lives life. It's the human condition. It's everything, the 360-degree experience of what it is to be a person. And I think, this week has actually been quite kind of hard with what happened. But to talk about it with you guys, talk about all of this stuff, it makes you feel alive. And if that's not a reason to continue to study and to be an actor and to tell stories, or even just like, that's terrible saying of like, those who can't do teach. Like sometimes they did the thing and they would rather, inspire and spread joy than just, get another credit for their resume. Some things are more important, especially right now. Like my poor little baby artists that are studying acting over Zoom. And all I want to do is just be like, you can still find joy. You can still find inspiration. The work that you're doing is important. You don't have to produce yourselves. Just be you. You are enough. You are enough. You are enough. It doesn't matter if you're in a classroom or in front of a computer. You and your craft are enough. That's it.
I need to clap to that. My
No,
God.
don't clap.
Oh my Lord. God, am I even still here? Now I feel like I just transcended to a third world. Like, that was, wow. I think that was the best last question we could have had in an interview.
No, don't say that. I feel very...
Stop it. Stop it.
Okay.
I'm done with the doubt.
I told you she was good.
Yeah, wow. All right. Well, with that said, I think it's time we play our game. We do have a little game.
Oh gosh.
We do have a little game. It's a very simple game because it's through Zoom. We make it nice and short and simple. But it
I
is
watched
a
the
little...
videos. I watched the videos.
So you know
She
what's
did
about
her
to
homework.
happen. All right. So we got Temple This or That edition. That's right. We got some questions for you, some quick questions that you got to answer, this or that. You got 60 seconds, as I'm sure you know. So be very brief when trying to figure out your answer. I'm going to pull up a timer as Sarah is going to be the one.
How many
giving you the
questions?
That's a good question. I'm pretty sure it's
I think
14.
today we have
13?
like 15-ish, maybe.
Okay.
Something around there.
We got to become more consistent with how many questions we put out.
I know, we're terrible.
It's somewhere in the 13
But
to
like
15
sometimes
range.
it's just more fun adding more things to certain people.
Okay.
We got the lovely By the Seaside jam. If you're not familiar with it, just go to your iPhone and look up your ringtones. It's one of the best. All right, so we got
This is the one you used for another app. I know what ringtone.
Of
it is.
course, By the Seaside action is where it's at.
We're getting
All right.
sponsorship from By the Seaside.
We are not even by like Apple, just
Not
by
even
the
Apple, just
Seaside.
By the Seaside.
That's it.
Yep.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
So I got 1 minute. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. 3, 2, 1, go.
Randall or Tomlinson?
Randall.
Bury Beach or the library?
Berry Beach.
Food truck or student center?
Food truck.
Dorm living or off-campus living?
Oh, off campus living.
Monologue or scene work?
Scene work.
Shakespeare or Moliere?
I guess Shakespeare. Moliere's really up there though. Gotta say.
Joyce or Marlene?
This is a trap. This is a trap. Joyce. I mean, Marlene. I love you, Jenny. You did a great job. If you're watching this,
You got 10 seconds.
You're a capitalist.
Directing or acting?
Acting.
Comedy or drama?
Drama.
Theater or film?
Theater.
How many questions did we have left? I don't even know.
I had like 2, but they were like the filler questions, so I think you won.
Can I know what they were?
It was like chips or candy. It was like the one like, if I ran out of something. So you won.
Do we count it? She won? I think we got to count it because filler questions are bland.
What are for show? They're just there for show.
Exactly.
Chips or candy? I would say neither. Am I allowed to say neither if I was asked that question?
Yeah, we just had a guest where we put up 2 people that he's very good friends with, and he just kind of stood there and was like, "Am I supposed to answer? Like,
And I was like, no, you can pass it."
Yeah, so we allow.
I watched the Wawa Sheets one. Like,
oh yeah.
What is Sheets?
Exactly! That's what I'm saying! What is Sheets? No one knows! Sheets is such just like, it's not even a thing. Like, Wawa is where it's at.
I literally don't even know what it is.
Good,
Oh
and stay that way. Sheets is like like middle of Pennsylvania, like, and beyond, and it's garbage. It's even...
We were like, I was like right above the Mason-Dixon line in PA, and we had rudders, which I don't know if anyone knows that. It's it's like a Wawa. It's like it's not the same. It's not the same. Wawa over rudders. If you gave me that choice, Wawa over rudders. But we used to like go there in high school and get sandwiches and French fries, and it's like the same deal. It's like a convenience store, except it's in the middle of nowhere. So there's also a gas station.
Got it.
Where you get to fill up your tires.
It's also like Royal Farms. Like Royal Farms.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
That's like up and coming, and it's like don't get me wrong, Royal Farms is actually kind of solid. Not as solid as Wawa, but I give it props.
Isn't Royal Farms about like fried chicken? Isn't like that?
Yeah,
thing?
true.
I think
I'm
so,
a
maybe.
vegetarian, so
oh,
it's not
okay.
for me.
So screw Royal Farms. Wawa.
No. I'm about that veggie cheese hoagie life. That is what I am.
Oh yeah.
Very nice.
And salt and vinegar chips.
Oh, can't
The
get
best,
enough.
the best. I eat that
Yeah.
24/7.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. Seriously. Well, I think that just about does it. Anna Lou, thank you so much for coming on. This has been such a fun episode to do.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's very fun. I know I definitely ranted.
We love it. That's what we're here for. That's what podcasting is all about.
I learned so much tonight. Seriously, this has been such an informative episode for me, and I'm so happy that I was able to be a part of it. So thank you so much for coming on.
That makes
really
me feel
appreciate
good. I'm so happy to be here. Yeah.
Well, if you ever want to come on again, just let us know, because seriously, this was a fun time.
Hey, if we want to do promo for my next play that I'm directing for Temple, we can totally talk about all things Life Sucks. That's what it's called. Life Sucks. I mean, if we can get the rights, hopefully. Let's put that out into the gods. I think it's Dramatist Play Service. Put that out there for them to grant us the rights.
We will get it going for sure. As always, I would like to thank Sarah, my co-host. Without you, we would not be able to do this because you are the backbone of everything we do. So, Sarah, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. I love you guys. This was so fun. So fun.
As always, my name is Ben. You could check out this podcast anywhere you go. If you'd like to stay updated, follow us on social media at CPCA_advising. That's where you'll get all the information in regards to everything that we do here. Besides that, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you next Friday. Enjoy your week.